Since the dawn of time, man has asked, what happens to us when we die? To some, death is simply the end. We stop, and we become nothing but piles of meat, left to rot or be fetishistically and ritualistically disposed of in whatever way our particular culture deems appropriate. To others, we move on to another world, endless heavens and hells and other assorted afterlives, there to continue on for eternity, often being punished for our sins or rewarded for our virtue. Still others believe we are born again into a new body, a new form, to live out the cycle once more. Still yet others will say we simply do not know, that it is impossible to peer beyond the icy veil of the hereafter, and that we shouldn't ask these questions, because we cannot know the answers.
Okay, open the curtains. Okay, this is Rolf the Wolf saying thanks for using the show selector, and we'll be...
However, we do know the answer, don't we? When a man, woman, other gender identity person, animal, substantially intelligent vegetable, or conservative MP dies, they do not move on to a new life. No, instead they are cursed to an eternity of wandering abandoned buildings, occasionally throwing rocks in order to keep afloat the careers of cynical con artists with night vision cameras, or they're stuck watching boring, obnoxious white middle-class people do inane shit, like watching the world's worst soap opera, or playing The Sims. It's a truly terrible thing, being a ghost, so can you blame them when they snap and decide to kill some people? And I sure can't. I'm not even dead and I'll start killing people. Anyway, today's video is about ghosts. Or, well, a game about ghosts, so it's technically about ghosts. Phasmophobia, 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 Plasmalabia, Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia. What is Phasmophobia? Well, it's two things. First, it's the fear of ghosts, the irrational fear specifically. Secondly, it's the hit new game that has inexplicably taken the internet by storm out of absolutely bloody nowhere. And unlike most of these first-person indie horror games that emerge from out of the mists, this one's actually pretty fucking good. Published and developed by Kinetic Games, a company which, from everything I've heard, seems to be a very small number of people, in mid-September 2020. Phasmophobia is a first-person co-op ghost hunting game in which you and up to 3 other players...
Ooh, be my fan, bitch,
God.
daddy.
No, what the fuck? No.
Get in my...
I can't run away while I'm adding my items.
Get in my slut van,
I'm on
Ray.
my right ear, daddy, Ray.
Go to the aforementioned creepy abandoned buildings and white suburban households in search of various flavors of ghosts and ghouls. Or, well, not really in search of them. You and your intrepid team of fucking morons must venture forth and use all the pseudoscience mumbo-jumbo bullshit that can be found on ill-conceived ghost hunting shows in order to figure out exactly what kind of spook you're dealing with. In essence, it's an investigation and puzzle-solving game with a horror theme. The game borrows heavily from the methods of real-world ghost hunters, read as charlatans or idiots, depending on how generous you're feeling, to lend an air of authenticity to proceedings, effectively acting as a simulation of the million obnoxious ghost shows, and BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural, the one good one, but with one key difference. In Phasmophobia, the ghosts are very real, and will kill you, if given the chance. Okay, I'm realising now that if I do any more introduction, I'm going to start stepping on the other sections of this video's toes. That sentence didn't feel grammatically correct, so I'll just say 2 more things and then move on. First, it's worth noting that this video is based on the game as it exists in October of 2020, so if you're watching this after the fact, it may have changed a fair bit, especially in terms of polish. This is an early access game we're talking about after all. Secondly, some of the footage is going to have my silly ass sat in the top corner because I streamed this a fair bit and I'm too lazy to record all new footage for this video. So, huff my nuts. At its core, Phasmophobia is a pretty simple game. It's essentially a matter of evidence gathering and attempting not to get your silly ass killed. You do this by wandering around the various haunted hideaways the game gives you access to, which in the current build is a grand total of a handful of houses, a haunted high school, and an abandoned asylum, using various ghost hunting doodads in an attempt to determine where the ghost is and what it is. You may notice an absence of the obvious question of what the ghost wants. This, you don't need to find out, because ghosts literally only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting. They want to strangle every breathing motherfucker they see.
Hey, you just got it.
You stop the hunt. Get out. For hunt. We're done.
You pussy! Ah! No! I can't help you! I can't help you!
Oh my god.
Hide! Go upstairs and hide! He's got someone. Get out! Get out! Get out!
There it goes. You did it. You killed Ethan. I'm so proud of you.
While there are no preset roles, it's best practice to split the team into two parts, the van bitch, and then everyone else who does all the actual work. The reasons for this are simple, and they are twofold. The first is that the van bitch, and yes, I refuse to use any term other than van bitch, as the name suggests, stays in the van where they're nice and safe. From there, they can monitor the cameras in the location, looking for evidence of spooks that way, and generally keeping an eye on things, as well as tracking people's sanity levels, which frankly concerns me. I mean, the notion of sanity being trackable as a percentage is worrying enough without the clear indication that the entire team is basically fucking tagged and monitored for deviancy of thought pattern, like the ghost hunters operate on a small-scale 1984-esque Big Brother situation. And they can also keep tabs on all the various sensors and doodads that can be placed by the people doing the actual grunt work. They essentially act as a kind of central command, and especially on the larger maps, can be invaluable in pinning down where the ghost actually is, as the sensors, while not providing evidence as to what kind of ghost you're dealing with themselves, are one of the best ways of telling where it's been wandering off to. The second use of the van bitch is honestly just cash. At least the way my group plays it. The van bitch is also, where possible, the only person who brings any equipment to a job, because they're the only person who basically can't be killed unless they do something very stupid. When a player dies on a job, they lose all the equipment they contributed, though they do get half of the cost of their equipment back at the end. By having the van bitch bring everything, you can make sure no one ever loses anything. Though it does mean that if, say, one of you is much higher level than the rest of your team, you are basically almost required to be the van bitch, because there's a solid chance the rest of the team won't have enough of the high-level equipment. Beyond the placing of sensors and cameras, and learning some of the more finicky aspects of certain tools, the game is honestly rather simple mechanically, the challenge appearing due to the high level of risk involved in basically everything, and a degree of randomness on the part of the ghosts. Aside from the van bitch, the players wander the location with various locating and evidence-gathering tools, first attempting to pin down where the ghost actually is, and then once that's established, trying to work out what kind of ghost it is by antagonizing it into acting up, and checking how it acts up. You're a cunt!
I'm gonna take another.
You're a pussy! You're a coward! Scare me!
Come kill us.
Show yourself! Robert!
Oh.
His name was Robert, right?
No.
Down to 0.
He's there. Robert,
Oh, yeah, he's fucking standing.
show yourself.
Do footprints just not count?
I think footprints don't count. Ultimately, your basic goal is to gather the 3 kinds of evidence associated with any specific ghost type. These are a reading of 5 on the EMF reader, temperatures below freezing, fingerprints on objects the ghost has interacted with, ghost writing in the book, voices on the spirit box. Are you a boy? Okay, well that's disturbing. It says it's old, but it's hanging out in a children's bedroom. And ghost orbs on the cameras. Each ghost type, which I'll talk about a bit later on in the video, produces some selection of these, and some of these are more difficult to acquire than others. Ghost orbs are, in my experience, one of the easiest forms of evidence to find, as they manifest on the night vision cameras pretty consistently in either the so-called ghost room, which is the room in which the ghost is most active and tends to return to if it's got nothing else to do, or just where the ghost is wandering around. The most difficult kinds of evidence to acquire are the EMF 5 and freezing temperatures, simply because those seem to be the most affected by RNG. Not everything that can cause them to occur will, which means you can just get unlucky and end up never getting the readings you need to confirm one way or another. Thankfully, however, each type of ghost has a personality, which can help you work out which kind it is even if you lack the full suite of evidence, though again, there is a degree of randomness with each ghost that can fuck with that. Okay, this section's getting a bit wordy. Okay, so I'll say now that the game is heavily based around a voice recognition gimmick, to the point at which it's borderline unplayable if you don't have a mic. I love the voice recognition stuff, but that's its own section later. Next, however, we need to talk about the hunt. I was going to do a more dramatic voice there, but I decided against it. The hunt. Yeah, whatever. Every now and again, dictated by the sanity levels of the team, the type of ghost you're dealing with, how much you've called the ghost a cuck, and if the ghost has just decided it doesn't like your face, you will find yourself in a hunt. Prior to this, you were technically safe. Scared, but safe. Not anymore. During a hunt, a few things will happen. All of the exterior doors will slam shut and lock, and they won't reopen until the hunt is concluded. The lights, including your flashlight, will flicker. The global comms, the radio, will go dead, leaving the van bitch unable to contact you and you them. Finally, the ghost will manifest and start looking for you. If it finds you and catches you, it'll wrap its hands around your throat and drag you into the snot room. And you'll be dead. I'm dead.
Run, Ethan! Run!
Ominously, no one will know that you're dead until the hunt is over. The only way to avoid this fate is to fucking hide. Either get in a wardrobe, or failing that, get in a room, close the door, turn your flashlight off, hide in a corner, and pray to whomever the fuck you wish that Casper doesn't decide to fuck you up. Oh, and be quiet. Seriously. Don't say a word during this phase. You'll know it's over when the lights stop flickering, and you can hear the radio once again. Hope that no one died.
You hear him, Alex?
He's not talking, he's just right here.
Oh.
Come out.
Here, come out.
That's why you don't fuck with him.
Also, what the fuck, like, said that? Ethan, what's going on? Ethan, I'm not gonna fucking talk! There's a hunt! He can hear me!
Come on, but...
Or hope that they did. You get extra cash if you snap a picture of a corpse, so it can actually be good for the rest of the team for one of you to die. Hunts are fucking terrifying, and they're likely the most common time you'll actually see the ghost, though not the only one. Ghosts can appear as full-bodied apparitions without hunting you, though that is relatively rare. Once a hunt is in progress, it cannot be stopped, although it can be prevented beforehand. Having a crucifix on the ground nearby when the ghost attempts a hunt will basically cuck it, forcing it to not hunt at all. Similarly, using a smudge stick will at once make the ghost more active and stop it from being able to hunt for a little while. I assume its activity increases it throwing a tantrum about not getting to kill people, or just hates the smell of that dank ghost kush, no fucking clue. Hunts are great. They're tense and some of the best times to catch photos of the spook, and the game actively encourages you to set them off by giving you optional objectives like stopping a hunt with a crucifix or taking a picture of a full-bodied apparition. Okay, moving on. So, beyond the central premise, one of the big standout features of this game is, as I mentioned before, without a doubt, the voice recognition and voice chat nonsense. If you don't have a mic, this game isn't for you. If you don't want to communicate exclusively with push-to-talk via in-game chat, this game isn't for you. If you have no patience for weird technical issues relating to your mic, this game is not for you. Essentially, this game is designed around a fantastic system of directional audio and voice recognition, with the playable team having access to both local and global comms. The local comms are, as you might expect, just people yelling at each other from across the room, while the global comms are essentially walkie-talkies. Because of the investigative nature and high-risk situations this game presents, communication is absolutely key to getting through missions efficiently and safely. Frankly, they can be terrifying because, as mentioned, when a hunt happens, you lose global comms, which can be deeply tense, deeply frightening, or fucking silly. I have a friend, Ray, his name is, who I play this with quite a lot. When he's van bitch and a hunt happens, my first clue is always his goofy ass yelling from outside. I don't know why, but it just makes me laugh.
Oh, power's out. Hunt! Hunt!
Hunt!
Hunt!
That explains the voice chat, but what about voice recognition? Well, you can speak to the ghosts, and they'll react. I adore this aspect of the game. You can ask the ghost for a sign, and it might give you one. If you can find a Luigi board, you can ask questions, and the ghost will answer. Where are you?
Damn, that was a good one.
It's writing that it's in the kitchen. If you have a spirit box, you can talk to the spook, and the spook can talk back. Are you here? Spirit box. The ghosts react to a frankly ludicrous amount of questions and phrases. It's honestly really impressive for such a small team, and what's more, they react differently to different stimuli. I really don't want to spoil it, because, frankly, this is my favourite aspect of the game. I will simply say this. The ghosts respond to a lot, and there are things they hate hearing. Don't say their name, unless you want to provoke them. Oh, and while you need to use push-to-talk to speak to your teammates and to interact with the spirit box, be aware. The ghost is always listening. Okay, strap in. This bit's gonna take me a while. The equipment in Phasmophobia generally breaks down into a few kinds: evidence gathering, protection, and detection. I'm aware evidence gathering and detection sound very similar, and there is a bit of overlap there, but be quiet and let me talk. Generally, the equipment breaks down from there into 3 other categories: pointy things, droppy stuff, and sensors. This first is what I like to call pointy things. These are objects you need to essentially wave around like a maniac in the hopes that they'll beep in the way that you want them to and tell you where or what the ghost is. These are the EMF reader, a device which picks up on electromagnetic fields which, in reality, are basically fucking everywhere in a modern household, which is why they're so popular with real ghost hunters. Buggers wave it by a microwave, then jizz their pants over ghost activity. It's not ghosts, it's my fucking leftovers being reheated, alright? That being said, in the game, the EMF reader is one of the best indicators of if the ghost is nearby. All ghosts can set it off, but only certain types of ghosts can get an EMF 5 rating. Next, you have the thermometer, which is both self-explanatory and largely useless. Theoretically, if the temperature dips below 10... whatever I have this thing set to, then you've got ghost lads, with certain ghosts causing the temperature to drop below 0. The reason I call this largely useless is because, frankly, while there is a degree of RNG to a lot of the evidence-gathering devices, the thermometer is just fucking soggy with it. Thankfully, freezing temperatures always cause the investigator character models to breathe out puffs of mist, but oftentimes you can literally be in a room causing that and get sweet fuck all on the thermometer. Apparently it wasn't always like this, and it was made this garbage in the most recent patch at the time of writing, but I only started playing it in October, so I'm not exactly sure on that. You only really need this thing if you have the optional objective of getting a reading from it. Then you have the UV flashlight, which is a torch, which does UV light instead of normal. It's for finding spooky handprints and fingerprints and occasionally footprints. Unlike the thermometer and the EMF, this one basically only turns anything up if you're dealing with a ghost that specifically leaves this kind of evidence. There is one more, for lack of a better term, honourable mention for this category, I guess, if only because I'm not sure where else to put it, and that's the spirit box. It's not really a pointy thing, but it also doesn't fit the other categories, and this is the closest one to my mind. A spirit box is essentially a handheld radio that scans at alarming speed through radio frequencies. The idea is that ghosts will somehow use the radio frequencies to talk to you. When used in reality, what you get is a load of obnoxiously loud static and occasional snatches of words from radio stations that manage to break on through.
Anybody here that was here before this house was built?
Spaghetti?
Which ghost investigators decide are messages from beyond the grave.
Tell us your name. Apple Tater?
In the game, it, thankfully, just blurts out static unless the ghost you're dealing with is one of the types that interacts with the spirit box, in which case you'll hear a voice answering questions you ask or responding to what you say. The spirit box is my favourite tool in the game, by the way. I love this shit. It scares the shit out of me, but I love it. Oh, and then you also have flashlights of both strong and shite variety. Self-explanatory. Oh, and also, you have the photo camera. Again, self-explanatory. Pictures of certain things get you extra cash. Ghosts, certain kinds of evidence, your dead friends. It's all worth money. After the pointy things, we have the droppy stuff. This name should be pretty self-explanatory, which I realise I've said about 1,000 times in the last couple of seconds. But if it somehow isn't, these are things that you have to drop on the ground. And are fucking wild, I know. We'll start simple with the evidence-gathering stuff. There's honestly not much of it in this category, limited essentially to the salt, the glow stick, and the ghost-writing book. The salt is literally a can full of salt that you pour all over the floor in order to make a mess for some mild evidence gathering. While at the moment there are no ghost types that can be revealed by the salt piles being disturbed can give you a rough idea of where the ghost has been, and if you get to them fast enough, you can see footprints from them with the UV light. Simple, as I said. Although I will say that you can kind of maybe tell if it's a wraith if you see a salt pile get disturbed and there's no footprints at all, but that's not a 100% thing. The second, the glow stick, is a UV light glow stick. You drop it on the ground and it lights up the area around it with UV light, revealing any finger or footprints around. Again, pretty simple. The third and final bit of droppy evidence gathering is the ghost writing book, a grotesquely overpriced pencil and paper that certain ghosts can write lovely little messages in, such as get out, or die, or just some general satanic squiggles. They never have anything nice to say. I wish I knew why dead people were such cunts. Oh, and also candles and the lighter, I guess. They're not evidence, they're just light sources, although the lighter is used to light candles and one of the next things I'm going to talk about. Other than that, just a teeny tiny little light. Again, didn't really know where else to put this. Beyond the evidence-gathering droppy stuff, there are also a couple of droppy things which don't provide any evidence, but still provide a useful function. They save you from a cold, dark grave. Theoretically, they save you from a cold, dark grave. These are the crucifix and the smudge stick, which I just realised I kinda mentioned in an earlier section. Ah well. I'm bad at structuring these, okay? Anyway, you drop the crucifix on the ground, and if the ghost tries to go all kill crazy on you within a 3-meter radius around it, it'll be forced to sit the fuck down and chill out. The smudge sticks make the room smell funny, make the ghost throw a tantrum, and also stop it from trying to kill you. Okay, moving on! The last set of equipment is the sensors, which I'm going to include cameras in because I'm lazy, and to be fair, they're technically a kind of sensor. They're a visual sensor, get off my back. They're essentially devices that allow the van bitch to see what's going on within the house, and can be used to track the ghost's movements while it's invisible. The first and foremost of these are the video cameras, and by extension the tripods, which come in both placeable and head-mounted variety. Placed around the map, these cameras allow the van bitch to spy on the goings-on within the building, and all come with built-in night vision for better spook spying. Night vision cameras are the only way to locate the ghost orb's evidence type. The head-mounted cameras are functionally identical to the placeable cameras, only they obviously show the van bitch the POV of whoever's wearing them, and I don't really think I need to explain what a tripod is. You put a fucking camera on it. Then we have the motion sensors, which sense motion. I mean, it's a good name. does what it says on the tin. Glue these lads to the wall, ideally at about waist height, and they'll register any movement, spectral or otherwise, flashing green on location and beeping in the van to alert the team to ghostly goings-on. These are incredibly useful when it comes to tracking the ghost's movement, once you have a rough idea of where it is. The van bitch can also see the range of the sensors, and which one is going off on the map in the van. I also feel I should mention, even though this isn't in the script, that the van bitch can also see where any given member of the team is on the map, although obnoxiously they can't tell which little green dot is which. And that's how they know whether or not you set it off or a ghost. Just moving on. Next up, we have the sound sensors, which sense sound. Yet again, the names are very blunt. It's good naming, it's fine. Plop these bad boys down and they will monitor audio levels in the room, their exact range being shown on the map as a big yellow splodge, and the levels having their own special screen. This can again give you an indication as to where the ghost is moving around when the audio levels spike in rooms free of disgusting humans mucking up the data. And finally, for the sensors, we have these fucking things. Ugly green boxes. The infrared light sensors. I really don't know what they're for. They light up in response to movement, by which I mean they literally fill the room with light. And that's about it. I've yet to figure out what good this does. I mean, all it seems to do is make the van bitch go blind if the ghost enters a room they're watching on the cameras, while also making damn sure they can't see ghost orbs if there's any to see. Pointless waste of money. You know, if you're watching this and you know what they're for, tell me, because I've got no fucking idea. You still with me? Good. I don't fucking know why you're still here, but good. Let's get back to something fun. Talking about the actual ghosts. The Angry Dead come in a bunch of different flavours in Phasmophobia, each with different strengths, weaknesses, personality quirks, and forms of evidence relating to them. I'll go over them each in turn, but before that it's worth noting that the actual physical forms of the ghosts are in no way related to the kind of ghost they are. Beyond the gender, the models are essentially entirely random, and I don't think I've actually seen all of them in-game yet. I will say that there is a clear case of gender discrimination because there are a hell of a lot more male ghost models than female ones. Are the developers claiming that women are mostly the same compared to men? Almost certainly not. Let's just keep going. The first form of spook is the spirit. This is essentially Ghost Vanilla, Ghost Standard, Ghost Blech. The game claims this to be the most common kind of ghost, but in my experience that's a load of horse shit. I wish it was the most common, because it's pretty fucking simple. 0 strengths, and it's more of a narc about smudge stick kush than the other kinds of ghost. I'm not going to go through the evidence, by the way, because that's boring, and it's written in the game. There's nothing else. There's nothing there to find out. Just look at the journal in the game. The game just tells you. Next up is the Wraith, also known as a right pisser. This spook flies and goes through walls, which essentially translates to it'll get you during the hunts even in wardrobes. Basically, you get a Wraith and you are screwed, and your survival is more or less left to chance during a hunt. It floats around, and as such it leaves no footprints when it disturbs salt, and is allergic to salt, but the game describes it as toxic. I'm not sure what that actually means. I think it might mean it gets trapped if you put it... I've gone off script again. I think it means if you put the salt by the door of a room it tries to travel through, it'll basically go and back away from the door. I think that's what it means. There's a lot of shit I don't know about this game. Phantoms! These lads suffer badly from being an early access game. Looking at them drops your sanity, and they're camera shies or buggery, vanishing for a short time if you take a snappy snap of them, even during a hunt. They're fucked by the game being in early access because they are described as being able to possess the living, but as far as I'm aware, that's just not a thing in the current version of the game, so they don't really do anything. Poltergeist. Don't even need to explain this one. It throws shit around, though oddly, in this early build, it can't specifically throw shit at players. It can be a bit of a bitch to find in certain maps, because it just won't be active at all if there aren't physics objects to play with. Little tip, if you ever see 2 objects being moved at once, you can just fucking leave. It's a poltergeist. You don't need more evidence than that. Fear the cry of the Banshee. Fuck me, that was lame. The Banshee is basically a stalker. It glomps onto one specific player at the beginning of a round and will basically hunt only them the whole time. As with the poltergeist, this is a ghost with a pretty distinct tell. If you find its active room and then realise it's only harassing one player to the point of following them far from said room, it's probably a banshee. On the plus side, until that player is dead, everyone else is safe as houses during a hunt, because the banshee will basically ignore everyone else. Oh, and it's allergic to crosses, for some reason. Next up, we have the djinn. Far from granting wishes. The djinn is essentially the undead equivalent of a man sitting on his porch in a rocking chair, stroking a shotgun. They're very territorial, often staying in one specific location and losing its shit if you go in there. They're also fast as fuck, unless you turn off all the power. I guess it's travelling through the wires or something. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Meh, I'm talking about the meh. This boy likes the dark. This boy doesn't like the light. That's about it. Moving on. The Revenant is a lazy bastard who sprints if you call him a cuck. He's also shit at hide and seek. Again, that's about it. Those two are really simple. Shades are the bane of my fucking existence. Described as a shy ghost, shades clam the fuck up and hide if there are too many people nearby, basically only reacting to individuals. If you split up to search, this isn't a problem, and in fact can be a boon, because it just won't hunt if there are too many people close together. But if you're a bunch of scared idiots who refuse to be alone, you'll never fucking get anywhere with these guys. Oh boy, the demon. This is the ghost I somehow interact with the most. I don't know why, but when me and the ghoul boys go hunting, about a third of the time, it's a demon. And what's more, it's a fucking weird demon at that. Demons are supposed to be nightmares to deal with. Super aggressive, attacking indiscriminately, just murder machines. Their strength is that they attack often. Their weakness is that you don't get shafted for speaking to them via the Ouija board. Honestly, based on my experience, rather than describing them as dangerous or violent, I'd just describe them as random, as weird and unpredictable. Whenever a ghost has behaved really strangely and confused the hell out of me and the boys, it's inevitably been a demon. This includes one that kept trying to hunt us but kept spawning in the bathroom and was just walking into a wall. Sadly, I couldn't see that, but Ray assured me it looked fucking hilarious. Next up, it's the Uri. The Uri, much like the Phantom, drains people's sanity, but good. And much like the Spirit, it doesn't like the smudge stick, hunkering down and refusing to move if you use it. Other than that, nothing much to say. And finally, the Oni. Often mistaken for a demon, the Oni is essentially the logical opposite of the Shade, in that it goes fucking nuts when groups of people are travelling together, which genuinely gets them mistaken for demons when they hunt the shit out of scared packs of players. Their strength is that they are more active. Their weakness is that they are more active and therefore easier to identify with the evidence gathering and such. Go figure. That's it for the ghosts in the current build, and how they work in the current build. Though I'm hopeful that more kinds will be added in time, and that perhaps the kinds that we currently have will get a bit more distinct. Although, I'm not sure how they could actually add more types, because I'm pretty sure they'd also need to add more methods of gathering evidence in order to differentiate them. Ah well, we'll have to see. It's early days. In conclusion, I hope you enjoyed reading this essay as much as I enjoyed writing it. Phasmophobia really kind of took me by surprise. I picked it up on a whim on Lara's recommendation, half expecting to refund it after finding out that it's just more standard indie horror trash. Instead, I ended up playing some 30-odd hours of it, and I'm planning on playing a good deal more. The voice recognition and voice chat stuff is a superb gimmick handled extremely well in the game, even if it can be a bit ropey. And doing the actual investigation work, trying to work out what kind of ghost you're dealing with, is just the right kind of methodical simulation of a job but done fun bullshit that scratches my autistic brain itch. This really kind of came out of nowhere, and I ended up falling in love with it, and frankly, it's one of the rare times in which I found myself liking something that's become a trend suddenly while it's still a trend. While the game is fucking terrifying, it can also be pretty fucking funny, especially after the fact, laughing off the scares and baiting the ghost to get you like a pack of arseholes. I can't recommend this game enough. It's only a tenner. Seriously, pick it up. I will, however, warn you that this game is a bit technically ropey. It's a bit janky. I have, like, a lot of bugs with it right now. I've gone off fucking script again. there's this one issue that I have constantly where, for whatever reason, whenever I try and play it in a group, we have to basically make the lobby multiple times until we get one game where everyone's mics are working properly. No one has to change anything, it's just for some reason they just bug out half the time. Once you've got it working once, that one group won't have any more problems. You can play for 5 hours, but it's a bit awkward setting though. I'm getting back on the script now. Anyway, I'd just like to thank, once again, the members of Parliament for their support. You continue to be a pack of powerless bureaucrats subverting democracy, but your donations are still greatly appreciated. Despite this appreciation, however, I still hate every single one of you. Oh, and I actually have a final message for my friend Ray. Ooh woo! Yiff me, Ray! Yiff me, Daddy Ray! Ooh woo!